Welcome to Zoe Stories. Mom said learn discipline. Now I'm her pretty daughter. I had always been quiet, the kind of guy who preferred to disappear into the background. At 20, my life was predictable. College, part-time job at a small bookstore, evenings spent scrolling through endless social media feeds, pretending I had a life worth living. I wasn't shy because I wanted to be, more because the world seemed too loud, too overwhelming, and I liked the comfort of invisibility. Mom, on the other hand, was the opposite. Always loud, always confident, always in control. She ran the household like a general commanding an army, and anyone who crossed her path quickly learned that arguing was pointless. Growing up under her gaze had taught me to obey, but lately, I had started questioning her methods. It all began that Saturday evening. I was sitting on the worn-out couch, scrolling on my phone, when Mom walked in holding a small box. The kind of box that promised trouble. "Sit up straight, Michael," she said, her voice calm but laced with authority. "We need to talk about discipline." I groaned inwardly. Mom and her lectures were a regular feature of my life, but something in her eyes made me pause. There was an unusual intensity today, a quiet storm brewing behind her calm exterior. "This isn't about grades or chores," she continued, placing the box on the coffee table. "This is about who you are, or who you could become." I looked at the box curiously. Inside, I found clothes, soft, feminine clothes. Dresses, skirts, blouses, delicate lingerie folded neatly, and at the bottom, a small note in Mom's precise handwriting. "Learn discipline by learning yourself." My stomach twisted. "Mom, what is this?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "You're going to wear them," she said simply. "Not for fun. Not for a costume. For you. You need to understand control, presentation, poise. Starting today, you will begin your transformation." I laughed nervously, thinking it was a joke. But the look in her eyes told me otherwise. There was no humor there, only resolve. Over the next hour, Mom guided me through the first steps. She wasn't just showing me the clothes, she was showing me how to become them. How to walk with elegance, sit with poise, hold myself as someone entirely different. At first, it felt ridiculous. Humiliating even. My own reflection seemed like a stranger staring back at me. Soft cheekbones, large frightened eyes, lips that didn't belong to the boy I thought I was. "You have to learn to respect what you wear," Mom said softly, almost soothingly, as if reading my mind. "This is about more than clothes. It's about understanding the power of how people see you and how you see yourself." I wanted to protest, but every time I tried, Mom's calm dominance stopped me. She had a way of speaking that made resistance feel not just impossible, but almost wrong. By the end of the evening, I was standing in front of the mirror fully dressed, my body encased in silk and lace, hair pinned carefully, makeup delicately applied. My hands trembled as I touched my own face, feeling the unfamiliar softness. My reflection wasn't Michael anymore. Not fully. I look like a girl," I whispered. The sound of my own voice, slightly higher, tinged with uncertainty, made me jump. Mom smiled, a mixture of pride and something darker. "Exactly. And you will learn to be her. Starting tomorrow, you will leave the house like this. You will learn discipline in every step, every glance, every word you speak. And maybe, just maybe, you'll start to understand yourself." I wanted to scream, to run, to erase every second of what had just happened. But deep down, beneath the shock and humiliation, there was a strange flicker, something that whispered curiosity. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every reflection, every shadow in my room reminded me of the stranger in the mirror, the girl I had been forced to become. And I realized something terrifying. This was only the beginning. The next morning, I woke up with a knot in my stomach, the memory of the night before heavy on my mind. Sunlight streamed through my curtains, highlighting the softness of my skin and the smoothness of my hair, both results of Mom's meticulous attention. I felt exposed, fragile, and strangely aware of my own body in a way I had never been before. Mom appeared at my door without knocking, dressed immaculately as always. Her gaze swept over me, measuring, evaluating. "Are you ready?" she asked. There was no room for argument in her voice. I hesitated, fumbling with the hem of the delicate blouse she had chosen for me. My hands felt clumsy. My heart raced. Every reflection I caught in the mirror made me flinch. The boy I had been was gone. In his place was someone soft, vulnerable, entirely female in appearance, with trembling limbs and eyes wide with uncertainty. "You need to walk with confidence," Mom said sharply, adjusting my skirt and smoothing my hair. "If you act afraid, people will see it. They will notice everything." I nodded, though my throat felt tight. The thought of leaving the house dressed like this, of facing neighbors, strangers, the public, was unbearable. My chest tightened. My mind raced with panic and doubt. We stepped out into the street. The morning air was crisp, almost harsh against my exposed skin. Mom held my arm lightly but firmly, guiding me like a teacher would guide a student through an impossible task. Each step felt unnatural. My feet were wrapped in delicate flats, and my legs seemed to wobble under the unfamiliar posture she had taught me. Every person we passed made my stomach twist. A neighbor waved at us. Mom responded with a cheerful smile, but I froze. The woman's eyes flicked to me, and I could feel the sudden, hot sting of embarrassment crawling up my neck. I tried to smile, but it came out forced, shaky. Mom noticed immediately. "Smile like you mean it," she whispered. "This is about more than clothing. It's about presence." Her words sent a shiver down my spine. Presence. I felt like a fraud, like I was acting a part one could never inhabit. And yet, there was a strange thrill in the way people reacted to me. The shy glance of the woman down the street lingered, assessing me. My pulse quickened, a mix of fear and something I wasn't ready to understand. Mom directed me toward the mall. Each step inside felt heavier than the last. The fluorescent lights reflected off my makeup, highlighting the subtle curves she had accentuated. I caught glimpses of myself in shop windows, soft lips, long eyelashes, delicate hands. Every reflection was a reminder of how drastically my life had changed overnight. We walked past a group of teenagers, and I felt their eyes on me. Whispers floated through the air, some approving, some curious. I could hear fragments. "She's so pretty. And wait, isn't that Michael?" My stomach dropped. The humiliation was immediate and sharp. Mom's grip on my arm tightened, grounding me. "You ignore them," she said softly. "Your only concern is how you carry yourself." But ignoring it was impossible. Every whisper, every glance, tore at my confidence. My cheeks burned. I tried to focus on the mechanics she had drilled into me, the posture, the careful steps, the tilt of my head, but the reality of being seen like this was overwhelming. We stopped at a small cafe, and Mom guided me to a table. My legs shook as I sat, the skirt riding slightly higher than I was comfortable with. Mom ordered for both of us, chatting easily with the barista. I felt invisible in her shadow, yet painfully exposed. "I know it's hard," she said quietly, placing a hand over mine. "But this is discipline. Every glance, every judgment, every feeling of embarrassment, it's part of the process." I nodded silently, unsure whether I wanted to cry or scream. I felt trapped in a body that wasn't mine, a reflection I couldn't reconcile with, and a mother whose control over my life had escalated to something I didn't know how to resist. As we left the cafe, she guided me through the crowded streets again. People stared, some smiled, others whispered. Each reaction was like a needle, pricking at my sense of self. I realized, with a sinking feeling, that there was no turning back. Today, the public world had seen me, and my old life was slipping further away with every step. By the time we returned home, I was exhausted, mentally and emotionally drained. The soft fabric of my skirt and the delicate touch of my shoes now felt like a weight pressing on my chest. Mom, however, seemed completely composed, proud even. She examined me with a critical eye, making subtle adjustments to my hair and blouse, ensuring every strand, every crease was perfect. "I know it's painful now," she said gently, "but every moment of discomfort is shaping who you will become. Discipline isn't just obedience. It's transformation." I looked at her, a swirl of resentment and reluctant fascination in my chest. The control she held over me was absolute, yet strangely magnetic. My reflection in the hallway mirror caught my eye, and for the first time that day, I didn't look away. The face staring back at me was undeniably beautiful, and that realization filled me with a mix of shame and an unfamiliar, flickering curiosity. The next few days blurred into a relentless rhythm. Mom had turned my life upside down, replacing my old routines with exercises in feminine poise, etiquette, and presentation. Each morning began with hours in front of the mirror, and each evening ended with exhaustion, so deep I barely had the energy to sleep. Mom's approach was precise, almost surgical. She taught me how to walk. The delicate placement of each foot, the subtle sway of the hips, the tension and release of muscles I never thought about before. At first, every step felt like a performance, awkward and exposed. I stumbled countless times, my mind screaming to run back to the comfort of my old life, but Mom never let me give up. You have to feel it in your body, not just in your mind, she instructed sharply one morning, brushing my hair behind my ear as she watched me practice in front of the full-length mirror. Your posture, your walk, your presence, they are all a reflection of who you will become. Discipline isn't optional. I bit my lip, cheeks burning, and attempted the steps again. My legs shook, my back stiffened, but Mom's eyes never left me, evaluating, correcting, guiding. Each time I faltered, she sighed, but never with anger, only a piercing expectation that left me trembling. Makeup became the next battlefield. My hands felt clumsy as I held the brushes, powders, and lipsticks. My reflection seemed foreign with each stroke, soft eyeshadow emphasizing the size of my eyes, blush making my cheeks appear rounder, lipstick shaping lips that once had been hidden behind boyish indifference. You're beautiful when you look at yourself honestly, Mom said one afternoon as I fumbled with mascara. But honesty doesn't come from hiding. It comes from showing, even when it scares you. And it did scare me. Every swipe of color on my face felt like erasing Michael. I hated it, but a small part of me, the part Mom seemed to recognize, quivered with a strange thrill when I glimpsed my reflection. I didn't understand why it made my stomach tighten, why my pulse jumped at the soft curves and delicate features that weren't supposed to be mine. Lingerie practice was the most humiliating part. Mom had laid out a selection of delicate undergarments, insisting I learn how they felt against my skin, how to move in them without collapsing in awkwardness. I tried to cover myself, to resist, but her gentle yet commanding presence left no room for argument. You must feel comfortable in discomfort, she murmured, adjusting the straps of a lace bra. Every sensation, every brush of fabric against your skin, teaches you discipline and control. I shivered under her touch, not entirely unpleasant, but tinged with shame. My mind spun with conflicting emotions, resentment, embarrassment, and a creeping curiosity I didn't want to admit. Each day, I felt my old identity slipping, replaced by someone softer, more delicate, more exposed. Mom introduced me to vocal training next. I hated the high, careful pitch she demanded, the subtle way words had to flow, the way I had to soften consonants and elongate vowels. At first, I sounded ridiculous, my voice cracking and bouncing like a child's. But Mom was relentless. You will sound like her. Not like you. Not like Michael. Her, she said, tapping her chin. Practice every day. Speak only when necessary, but speak correctly. We ventured outside again, this time to the nearby boutique for a lesson in shopping and presentation. I felt my heart race as we walked past strangers. I noticed their eyes lingering on me, their whispered comments brushing my ears. My body stiffened, heat flooding my face. I wanted to sink into the floor. You ignore them, Mom reminded me, her hand brushing my arm lightly but firmly. Focus on yourself. Every step you take is shaping you. Inside the boutique, I learned the art of browsing delicately, handling fabrics, selecting colors that complemented my appearance. Each movement felt foreign, yet I tried desperately to embody the elegance Mom demanded. A saleswoman complimented me. "You have such lovely features. Your skin is beautiful." My face burned. Compliments felt like a mixture of pride and terror. Pride for being seen as pretty, terror because it wasn't supposed to feel this intoxicating. Mom's eyes flicked toward me, sharp and calculating, noting every twitch of expression, every hesitation, every blush. By the end of the day, my legs ached from walking in delicate shoes, my back ached from maintaining perfect posture, and my mind felt like it was unraveling. Yet when I glanced in the car mirror on the drive home, I caught myself smiling faintly. The reflection wasn't Michael, it was her. Beautiful, fragile, exposed, and undeniably real in some strange way. Mom watched me in the rearview mirror. "Good. You're learning. Every day, you're becoming more disciplined, more complete." And for the first time, I realized that discipline wasn't just about control. It was about surrender. Surrendering to her guidance, to her dominance, and to this strange, terrifying, exhilarating identity I was beginning to inhabit. At home, as I changed out of the day's outfit and into the nightwear she had chosen, I caught myself in the hallway mirror again. My chest tightened at the sight of the delicate curves, the softness of my cheeks, the subtle shimmer of makeup I had applied perfectly under her instruction. I felt a strange, unfamiliar sensation, a mixture of shame, fear, and curiosity. Mom's voice cut softly through my thoughts. "Tomorrow, we'll go somewhere new. A place where more eyes will see you. You'll learn to carry yourself even when everyone is watching. This is how you grow. This is how you learn discipline." I swallowed hard, my stomach twisting. I didn't want to go, but I also knew I couldn't refuse. Every fiber of my being had been trained not to. And deep down, even if I didn't admit it, a part of me wanted to see how the world would react to her. The following morning, I woke with a familiar tightness in my chest. Today wasn't just another day of practice in front of mirrors or quiet lessons at home. It was the day Mom had decided I would face the world fully, completely exposed. The thought made my stomach churn, yet beneath the fear, an unfamiliar tension of curiosity coursed through me. Mom entered my room with her usual calm authority. Her eyes scanned me from head to toe, noting every detail. "Today, you will go to the city mall. Alone mostly," she said. "I'll be nearby, but you will carry yourself as her. Every step, every glance, every word is part of your discipline." My hands trembled as I dressed. The blouse was delicate, the skirt soft against my legs, and my new shoes made every step feel deliberate and weighted. Makeup highlighted my features flawlessly, thanks to Mom's exacting lessons. I barely recognized the reflection staring back at me, soft, fragile, undeniably feminine. The walk to the car was silent. Mom's hand brushed against mine occasionally, grounding me while reminding me of the control she held. The city streets were busy, people bustling past without care. But as soon as I stepped onto the sidewalk, I felt the immediate weight of attention. Eyes lingered, sometimes approving, sometimes confused. I felt my face burn at the whispers, small phrases like, "She's beautiful," and "Wait, isn't that Michael?" cutting through my confidence like knives. I wanted to shrink into myself, disappear, return to the anonymity I had once cherished. But Mom's steady gaze reminded me, no retreat. Inside the mall, I moved carefully, attempting the elegance she had drilled into me. Each step, each sway of my hips, each subtle adjustment of my posture felt like walking a tightrope over a canyon. My heart raced with every glance I felt on me, and with every compliment or whisper. A strange flutter of excitement, mixed with shame, filled my chest. A store clerk smiled warmly as I entered. "You have such delicate features. Your makeup is stunning." I froze, cheeks flaming. The attention was intoxicating and terrifying all at once. Mom's eyes caught mine from across the entrance, sharp and assessing. She didn't need to speak. The expectation was clear. Carry yourself. Own it. Show no weakness. We passed groups of teenagers, friends chatting, laughing, and I could hear fragments of conversation. One girl whispered to her friend, "Wow, she's gorgeous." Another boy squinted, confused, then muttered under his breath, "That's Michael?" My stomach twisted violently. The humiliation was suffocating, yet I couldn't stop myself from noticing the strange thrill in the way I was being seen, evaluated, admired. Mom guided me into a boutique for a lesson in shopping and social interaction. She instructed me on handling fabrics delicately, choosing colors that enhanced my appearance, and responding to compliments with modesty and poise. Every action felt exaggerated at first, but under her guidance, I began to move with a kind of tentative grace I didn't know I could possess. "You are learning control," she said softly, as if reading my inner conflict. "Control over your body, your emotions, your image. The world will see her, not Michael, and she must command their attention." It wasn't easy. Each time someone recognized me, a fragment of my old identity threatened to surface, bringing panic, shame, and disbelief. Yet, at the same time, I caught myself enjoying the attention, the way people smiled, the soft admiration in their eyes. I hated it, yet a small part of me was drawn to it, confused, exhilarated, and terrified all at once. We stopped at a cafe to practice social etiquette. Mom guided me through every detail: how to sit without wrinkling my skirt, how to place my hands on the table delicately, how to speak softly but with clarity. The patrons noticed me, whispering, glancing, and in that suffocating, humiliating attention, I felt my identity cracking further. By the time we left the mall, my legs were sore, my face burned, and my mind felt raw. Mom examined me once more, adjusting my hair and smoothing the fabric of my blouse. "Good," she said, voice soft but firm. "Every gaze, every judgment, every moment of discomfort is shaping you. Discipline is not comfort. Discipline is transformation." As we walked to the car, I realized something terrifying. I didn't want this. And yet, part of me, deep inside, felt a strange satisfaction at being beautiful, at being admired, at being someone entirely different from Michael. That realization sent a shiver down my spine. Mom's hand brushed my arm. "You're learning faster than I thought. Soon, you'll understand fully what it means to surrender and become her." A few days after the mall outing, Mom decided it was time for me to experience something more, interacting with someone outside our family who would see me fully as her, the girl I was being molded into. My stomach churned at the thought. The idea of exposing myself, emotionally and physically, to another person was terrifying, yet I couldn't stop the fluttering curiosity in my chest. We went to a small cafe near the park, a place she often visited for business meetings. I wore a soft pastel dress, delicate flats, and my hair pinned elegantly. Mom had insisted on makeup that accentuated my eyes, making them appear large and almost vulnerable. My reflection in the car mirror made me flinch. She had turned me into someone else entirely. Someone undeniably feminine. As we entered the cafe, a young man at a corner table looked up from his laptop. He was around my age, with dark hair and kind, observant eyes. Our gazes met briefly, and I felt a jolt of awareness, a mix of fear, embarrassment, and an unfamiliar attraction I didn't know how to process. Mom guided me to a table across from him. "This is part of your lesson," she whispered. "Observe, interact, learn poise, and manage your emotions. Remember, she commands attention. You respond carefully, but don't give yourself away." I nodded, trying to steady my racing heart. The young man smiled politely as we sat. His glance lingered a little longer than necessary, and I felt my face heat up. I could barely manage to sip my coffee without shaking slightly. "You're very pretty," he said softly, almost hesitant. "I've never seen you here before." The word struck me like lightning. I felt my stomach flip, my pulse jumping. My mind raced. Part of me thrilled at the compliment, another part mortified that I was being praised as someone I wasn't. Mom's hand brushed mine lightly, grounding me while also reminding me of the silent control she held. "Thank you," I managed to say, my voice higher than usual, trembling slightly. He smiled again, friendly and warm. "I'm Jake," he said, extending a hand. I shook it, my fingers delicate, soft, betraying the boy I had been just days ago. Conversation flowed in small waves. I struggled to maintain the feminine cadence Mom had drilled into me, elongating vowels, softening consonants, modulating my voice to be gentle yet composed. Every laugh, every smile, every glance from Jake sent waves of conflicting emotions through me: pride, shame, attraction, and an unsettling fear of being exposed. Mom, as always, observed quietly, offering corrections only when necessary. Her presence was a constant anchor of authority, but also a subtle reminder that she was shaping this interaction as much as I was. After a while, Jake's gaze lingered, studying me closely. "There's something different about you," he said softly. "But I can't put my finger on it. You're captivating." The word captivating made my chest tighten. I felt a surge of heat, pride mixed with humiliation. It was as if part of me wanted to revel in the compliment, while the other part wanted to disappear. As we left the cafe, Mom guided me through the crowded streets again. Her hand on my arm was firm, yet gentle, keeping me anchored to reality. But my mind kept replaying Jake's words, the way he had looked at me. Not Michael, not the boy I had been, but her. Later that evening, I stared at myself in the full-length mirror. My reflection was soft, delicate, beautiful in a way I still didn't understand. My heart ached with a strange combination of longing and guilt. I wanted to be admired, to be noticed, yet the attention came with a price: the slow, relentless erasure of Michael. Mom appeared behind me, her hands brushing my shoulders. "You did well today," she said softly. "He saw her, didn't he? And you managed yourself perfectly." I nodded silently, unsure whether I was proud or ashamed. My reflection stared back at me, someone I didn't fully recognize. The compliment, the attention, the strange rush of feeling, everything left me dizzy, conflicted, and strangely exhilarated. That night, I lay awake, mind spinning. The world was no longer Michael's. It was hers, mine only in the way Mom allowed it. And somewhere deep inside, I realized that this new identity wasn't just a lesson in discipline anymore. It was becoming an intricate, terrifying, intoxicating part of me. The next morning, I woke to a mixture of anticipation and dread. Today was different. Mom had informed me that I would be walking in public alone for the first time, without her guiding hand, without her immediate presence. My stomach twisted at the thought. The safety of her oversight had become a shield, and stepping out without it felt terrifying. I dressed carefully, following the exact instructions Mom had drilled into me: soft pastel dress, delicate flats that made every step deliberate, hair pinned precisely, and makeup that highlighted my features without overdoing them. My reflection in the mirror was flawless, fragile, feminine, undeniably her, but it was also me, and that realization brought a wave of anxiety. Mom appeared briefly in the doorway. "Remember everything I taught you," she said softly but firmly. "Your walk, your posture, your presence. You are her now. Even if no one else sees, you must. And every glance you receive, you will manage it. Confidence, poise, control. You understand." I nodded, gripping the hem of my skirt nervously. Her hand brushed my shoulder lightly, a final anchor, and then she was gone, leaving me alone in the hallway, staring at the door that would take me into the outside world. Stepping outside, the morning air felt sharp against my skin. Every noise, every movement, every glance of passers-by made my heart race. I forced myself to straighten my back, lift my chin, and take each step with the poise Mom had drilled into me. Each stride was deliberate, careful, like walking a tightrope over a chasm of scrutiny and judgment. People stared. I could feel their eyes lingering, some admiring, some curious. Whispers floated through the air. "She's so pretty, is that?" My face burned, my palms became clammy, and yet I forced myself to maintain the composure Mom demanded. Crossing a busy street, a group of teenage boys passed by, nudging each other and whispering. My stomach twisted violently. I wanted to hide, to run, to throw off the dress, the makeup, everything that marked me as her. But I forced myself forward, holding my posture, walking with a careful rhythm and ignoring the stairs as Mom had instructed. At a small cafe halfway through my walk, I paused to rest. I could see my reflection in the window, soft cheeks, delicate features, fragile hands, and I felt an unfamiliar twinge of pride mixed with shame. People glanced at me as I sipped my coffee, some smiling, some whispering. Each attention prickled my skin like tiny needles. I noticed a young man staring at me from a nearby table. His eyes lingered, and I felt my heart race. The thrill of being admired clashed violently with my embarrassment. I wanted to look away, to disappear, but my body refused. I realized, with a shiver, that I secretly enjoyed being noticed. The idea terrified me. By the time I reached the park, my legs ached, my cheeks burned, and my chest tightened from a mix of adrenaline, fear, and the strange satisfaction of having survived alone. I found a bench and sat, breathing deeply, trying to reconcile the girl in the mirror with the boy I remembered being just days ago. Mom's lessons echoed in my mind. Every step you take shapes her. Every glance is a test. Discipline is control. Control is transformation. Her words anchored me, even in her absence. I realized she wasn't just teaching me to walk or dress or speak. She was teaching me to inhabit a new identity, to surrender parts of myself I didn't yet understand. A jogger passed by, nodding politely, and I felt a strange pang of pride. Another passerby smiled, and my stomach fluttered again, that curious mixture of shame and exhilaration. My reflection in the small pond nearby caught my eye. She stared back at me, delicate, beautiful, exposed, undeniable. I shook my head, trying to dismiss the feeling, but it lingered, deep in my chest. Each step I had taken alone had stripped away more of Michael, leaving her more present, more real, more commanding attention than I could have imagined. By the time I returned home, exhausted and emotionally raw, I realized something. Mom's control extended far beyond her presence. Her influence was in every movement, every glance, every step I had taken alone. And though I hated it, a part of me craved it, the structure, the discipline, the strange thrill of being seen as her. The following week, Mom decided it was time to push me further. The mall and small cafes had been lessons, but today was something bigger, a crowded, bustling shopping center filled with people who would notice, judge, and stare. I felt a tight knot in my stomach as we approached the entrance. "Today, you will understand what discipline truly means," Mom said calmly, adjusting my skirt and brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. "Every look, every whisper, every judgment is a lesson. You will endure it and learn from it." I nodded silently, but my hands trembled. My dress clung delicately to my body, my flats made each step feel deliberate, and my makeup highlighted the soft features Mom had worked so hard to shape. My reflection in the car mirror made my heart race. I looked like someone else entirely, and that terrified me. The moment we entered the mall, I felt eyes on me everywhere. Strangers, teenagers, older women, all glanced, whispered, stared. Some faces held admiration, some confusion. The boy I had been seemed to vanish with each step, leaving her, fragile, delicate, completely exposed. Mom walked beside me, her presence commanding yet subtle. "Ignore them," she instructed softly. "Focus on your movements, your posture, your presence. Every reaction you provoke teaches you control." I tried to follow her instructions, but it was nearly impossible. A group of teenagers passed by, nudging each other and whispering. I felt my face flush, my palms become clammy, and my heart hammering against my chest. Humiliation and fear threatened to overwhelm me. A store display caught my attention, a rack of delicate dresses similar to my own. As I reached to touch the fabric, a teenage boy accidentally brushed my shoulder and whispered, "She's wow." I froze, heat flooding my cheeks. The rush of shame collided with a strange, unfamiliar thrill. I wanted to hide, to disappear, but a small, quiet part of me noticed the way I was being seen, admired, even envied. Mom guided me to a nearby cafe for a break, her eyes sharp, assessing every twitch of emotion. "Good," she said softly. "You felt it, didn't you? That rush? That attention? That's discipline." Learning to survive in the eyes of others is part of her education. Inside the cafe, a woman glanced at me and smiled warmly. "You're very pretty, dear," she said. "Love the dress." My face burned. Every compliment, every stare, every whispered judgment was a knife and a bomb at the same time, painful, humiliating, and secretly intoxicating. I realized with a jolt that I was beginning to crave the attention, even as I despised it. We continued through the mall. Mom subtly tested me, guiding me past mirrors and reflective surfaces, ensuring I faced my own image constantly. Every reflection reminded me of how drastically my life had changed. Michael was fading. She was becoming more present with every passing moment. At the food court, Mom allowed me a small moment of freedom, ordering my own drink. I practiced speaking softly, politely, clearly, but each word felt foreign, fragile, almost alien. A young man at a nearby table glanced at me, his expression lingering longer than necessary. My stomach twisted, shame and excitement flooding simultaneously. Mom watched me from across the hall, a calm, controlled presence. I realized that her influence extended far beyond her physical guidance. Her lessons were etched into my movements, my posture, my speech, my very reactions. I was learning to be her, not Michael, not fully in control of who I had been, yet not fully surrendered either. By the time we left, I was physically exhausted and emotionally raw. My legs ached from walking in flats, my chest tightened from the constant adrenaline, and my mind felt like it had been stretched to its limit. Yet, when I glanced at myself in a reflective surface outside the mall, I saw her clearly. Delicate, feminine, exposed, beautiful, and undeniably commanding attention in a way I had never experienced as Michael. Mom's hand brushed my arm as we walked to the car. "You did well," she said softly. "Today you survived. You endured attention, judgment, whispers, stares. That is discipline. That is transformation." I nodded silently, a storm of conflicting emotions churning inside me. Shame, pride, fear, excitement, humiliation, and fascination, all tangled together in a confusing, overwhelming mix. By the time we reached home, I realized something undeniable. My old life, Michael's life, was slipping further away with every public test. Each exposure, each glance, each whispered word was erasing pieces of him. And though I resisted, a strange, terrifying part of me was beginning to accept, even crave, the lessons she had instilled. After the exhausting mall experience, Mom decided it was time to move into the next phase, learning not just how to look feminine, but how to behave like her, graceful, pleasing, subtle, and completely under Mom's guidance. My heart sank. This was more than clothing, makeup, or walking. It was about bending every instinct, every reflex, every part of my personality to fit her vision. The morning started early, as always. Mom had laid out my outfit, a soft pink dress, delicate lace stockings, and shoes that made each step deliberate. My hair was pinned perfectly, and my makeup emphasized soft, large eyes and gentle lips. I stared at my reflection, feeling that familiar mix of fear, embarrassment, and a strange, unsettling thrill. "You must learn to please," Mom said quietly as she adjusted the straps of my dress. "Not just with appearance, but with your voice, your demeanor, your expressions. Every interaction is a lesson. Every response shapes her." I nodded, my stomach tight. The word please echoed in my mind. It wasn't just about politeness. It was about submission, control, erasing myself in service to her image. I shivered under her gaze, acutely aware of how far I had already come, and yet how far I still had to go. We began with vocal exercises. Mom instructed me on modulation, softening consonants, elongating vowels, and using a melodic cadence that would make every word sound gentle, inviting, and feminine. My voice cracked repeatedly, making me feel foolish and embarrassed, but she corrected me patiently, insistently. You are learning discipline, she said. Discipline is control.
Control is beauty.
Beauty is her. Next came posture and gestures. Every movement had to be deliberate. The way I held my hands, crossed my legs, tilted my head, smiled, or even looked away. Each motion was scrutinized, corrected, and repeated until it felt natural, or as natural as it could feel to someone who had never moved like this before. Relax your shoulders, soften your gaze, let your hands rest lightly, Mom instructed as I practiced pouring tea for her. Notice how every detail communicates who you are. You are her now, and she is observed constantly. You must convey grace, subtlety, and allure without effort. I tried, but every motion felt awkward, exaggerated, and exposed. My hands shook, my back ached, and my face burned from the constant scrutiny. Yet beneath the embarrassment, I felt something stirring, an odd, involuntary satisfaction when she nodded in approval. The next lesson was emotional. Mom insisted I learn how to react, how to express vulnerability, joy, or amusement in ways that were soft, pleasing, and feminine. She forced me into small role-play exercises, pretending I was interacting with strangers, friends, or potential admirers. I had to respond with charm, humility, and gentle allure, each scenario leaving me flushed, embarrassed, and increasingly aware of how deeply I was internalizing her control. You will learn to enjoy this, Mom said softly, placing her hand lightly on my arm. Not because you want it, but because submission is strength. Her beauty lies in obedience, discipline, and refinement. Every lesson, every exposure, every whispered compliment reinforces her. By the afternoon, my body ached from holding myself in unnatural postures, my face burned from constant self-awareness, and my mind was a tangle of conflicting emotions. Humiliation, pride, shame, excitement, and a strange, creeping fascination warred inside me. I realized with a jolt that part of me was beginning to crave approval, not from strangers, not from peers, but from Mom herself. We ended the day with a mirror session. Mom had me stand in front of the full-length mirror, dressed, made up, and poised. She circled me, adjusting small details, a hair strand, the hem of my dress, the tilt of my chin. You see her, she said softly. You feel her. She is fragile, delicate, beautiful. And she belongs to discipline, to structure, to me. Every moment you resist is a moment lost. Every moment you submit brings you closer to her. I swallowed hard, staring at my reflection. She, the girl in the mirror, was undeniably beautiful, delicate, commanding attention in a way I had never experienced as Michael. I felt pride, but it was intertwined with guilt, shame, and a strange, forbidden thrill. That night, as I lay in bed, exhausted and mentally drained, I realized something terrifying and undeniable. Mom's lessons were working not just on my appearance, but on my psyche. I was learning to think, feel, and move as her. Michael's identity felt distant, fragmented, almost like a shadow fading behind me. And though I resisted, a part of me trembled with anticipation for the next lesson, the next exposure, the next push into this new, delicate, and terrifying identity. Mom informed me that tonight was different. There would be a small gathering at a friend's house, neighbors, acquaintances, and a few young adults. The goal was clear. I would interact socially, fully exposed as her, under Mom's subtle but constant guidance. My heart pounded with fear and anticipation. You will attend, Mom said, adjusting my dress and smoothing my hair. Every glance, every word, every smile is part of your lesson. You will learn to navigate the social world as her, not as Michael. Do you understand? I nodded silently, hands trembling. The dress she had chosen was delicate, pale lavender, flowing and soft. Flats made my movements careful and deliberate, and my makeup accentuated soft, inviting features I was still struggling to claim as my own. The car ride was silent, Mom's hand occasionally brushing against mine, a subtle reminder of her control. My stomach churned as we approached the house. I felt exposed, vulnerable, and terrified, but also a strange, undeniable thrill at the thought of being seen fully as her. As we entered, I was immediately aware of the eyes on me. Guests turned, whispers floated, and admiration mingled with surprise. Some faces were familiar, others curious strangers. Every glance felt like a test. I forced myself to stand straight, head high, hands delicate at my sides, just as Mom had trained me. One of the young men, around my age, stepped forward. "Wow, you look incredible," he said, eyes lingering. I felt my face flush, heat flooding my body. Humiliation, pride, and a strange thrill battled inside me. I managed a soft, polite smile as Mom had drilled into me. Throughout the evening, I navigated conversations carefully. I laughed lightly, spoke softly, and allowed subtle gestures to guide my interactions. Every compliment, every lingering glance, made my chest tighten. Part of me wanted to hide, to retreat, but the training Mom had instilled forced me to endure, to present, to please. Mom watched from a corner, a calm presence that anchored me even as I felt exposed to the entire room. Her subtle corrections, a tilt of my chin, a softening of my gaze, a slight adjustment of my posture, kept me on edge, aware of every movement. At one point, a woman approached me, her smile warm. "You have such delicate features, and your makeup is perfect," she said. My stomach twisted with embarrassment, yet I felt a flicker of pride. It was intoxicating to be noticed, admired, and evaluated as her. A young man named Alex joined the conversation. His attention felt heavier, more focused. He complimented me repeatedly, and I felt a mix of excitement and shame at the effect I seemed to have on him. The thrill of being desired, being admired, was terrifying and addictive. By the end of the night, I was emotionally drained. Every glance, every word, every whisper had chipped away at Michael, leaving her more present, more commanding attention, more alive in this new identity. Mom guided me quietly to the car, her hand resting lightly on my shoulder. "You did well," she whispered. "Every interaction, every glance, every compliment you received was a lesson. You are learning to please, to endure, to embody her. Discipline is working." As I looked at my reflection in the car window, I barely recognized myself. She, the delicate, feminine, exposed, and captivating girl, stared back. Michael felt distant, fragmented, almost irrelevant. And though I hated to admit it, a small part of me thrilled at the thought of continuing this journey, of being molded further into her. The house was quiet when we returned. The faint hum of the city outside felt distant, as if the world beyond my room no longer existed. Mom closed the door behind us, her eyes calm but piercing. "Tonight," she said, "would be a private lesson, one that went beyond appearances, beyond posture, beyond public performance. It would be about the psyche, about submission, and about truly becoming her." I sat on the edge of my bed, hands trembling, aware of the delicate fabric of my dress against my legs. The reflections of the evening's interactions swirled in my mind. Whispers, compliments, lingering glances, Alex's focused attention. My chest was tight with shame, pride, and an unfamiliar thrill. Mom approached slowly, adjusting a stray strand of hair behind my ear. "You are learning quickly," she said softly, her voice a mix of warmth and authority. "But lessons are not just in public. True discipline begins in private. Tonight, we refine her and you will see how much control you have already surrendered." I nodded silently, unable to speak, caught between fear and anticipation. She had prepared a mirror for the session, placing it so I could see my full reflection. "Look at her," Mom instructed. "Not Michael. Not the boy you were. She is delicate, fragile, beautiful. She commands attention without effort. And every moment you resist, every flicker of your old self is a lesson lost." I stared at the reflection, feeling a strange, almost painful mixture of admiration and shame. Her eyes, large and luminous from makeup, held a softness I didn't recognize as my own. Her posture, her hands, even the tilt of her chin exuded grace I had never possessed. And yet, beneath it all, I felt the familiar pulse of Michael fighting to survive somewhere deep inside. Mom guided me step by step, correcting the smallest details, a hand too stiff, a smile not soft enough, a posture not delicate. Every correction, every adjustment brought a wave of embarrassment, but also a strange satisfaction. The line between humiliation and pleasure blurred with each touch, each whispered instruction. "Discipline is not comfort," she said quietly. "It is transformation. And transformation requires surrender. You are learning to let go, to accept her fully, to inhabit this identity completely." We practiced speaking, walking, gesturing in private, but with intensity far beyond previous lessons. Every movement, every sound, every expression was magnified under her scrutiny. She made me repeat phrases, smiles, subtle glances, until I could perform them with seeming effortlessness. Yet inside, I felt raw, exposed, and increasingly aware of how much of Michael had already faded. After hours of practice, Mom finally stepped back. Her gaze softened, but her authority remained unmistakable. "You see, don't you?" she whispered. "She is real. You are real. And Michael is fading. Every lesson, every exposure, every private correction strips him away further. This is not loss. This is growth. This is her." I sank onto the bed, exhausted physically and emotionally. My reflection stared back, delicate, beautiful, and undeniably feminine. I hated myself for the thrill I felt at my own appearance, at being admired, at the way my posture and gestures had become elegant under her guidance. And yet, part of me, terrifyingly, irresistibly, wanted more. Mom's hand rested lightly on my shoulder. "Rest now. Tomorrow brings new lessons, new exposure, new challenges. But tonight, remember this. She exists because you allowed her to. She thrives because you surrendered. And she is beautiful in ways Michael never could be." As she left, the quiet of my room pressed against me. I lay back, staring at the ceiling, a storm of shame, pride, fear, and fascination swirling inside. Michael was no longer fully present. She, the delicate, refined, captivating girl Mom had molded, was becoming undeniable. And for the first time, I realized I was not sure if I wanted to fight it anymore. Days had passed since the private night lessons, yet my mind was still swirling with the emotions of public exposure and Mom's relentless guidance. Every reflection, every interaction, every glance from strangers or acquaintances had chipped away at Michael, leaving her, the delicate, feminine, captivating girl, more fully present. It was during a quiet afternoon at the park that I met him. His name was Ethan, a classmate I had known briefly in the past but never interacted with closely. He was sitting on a bench reading, his expression calm and thoughtful. When our eyes met, something strange happened. My chest tightened, my face flushed, and a shiver ran down my spine. Mom had insisted I attend the park alone today, under the guise of independent social practice. I had dressed lightly but carefully, soft dress, sandals, hair pinned elegantly, makeup subtle but defined. The reflection in the nearby fountain caught my eye, and I startled at how delicate and feminine I appeared. Ethan noticed immediately. "Hey, you look different," he said, curiosity in his voice. "You're beautiful." I froze. The word struck me like lightning. My face burned, and my heart pounded. I wanted to hide, to explain, to run. Yet a strange, unfamiliar thrill coursed through me at the compliment. "I thank you." I managed softly, voice higher, softer, melodic, Mom's lessons coming to life without conscious effort. We began to talk, awkwardly at first. I stumbled over words, conscious of my gestures, my posture, my tone. Ethan seemed fascinated, not judging, just watching, listening. Each smile he gave me, each gentle laugh, sent waves of excitement, embarrassment, and confusion through my chest. I realized, with a jolt, that I was experiencing something I had never felt before, a crush. Not as Michael, but as her. The realization terrified me. Part of me wanted to deny it, to cling to my old identity, to remind myself that this was all a lesson, a transformation forced by Mom. Yet another part, an alarming, compelling part, thrilled at his attention, his interest, his admiration. Mom's voice echoed in my mind. She thrives because you surrendered. She is beautiful because you allow her to exist. And in that moment, I understood fully what she meant. The admiration, the crush, the thrill, they were inseparable from her existence. Michael could never feel this. We spent the afternoon together, walking through the park, laughing quietly, sharing stories. Every step, every gesture, every smile reinforced her identity. I found myself unconsciously adjusting my posture, tilting my head, softening my voice, subtle feminine cues that made Ethan smile and lean closer. The thrill of his attention, mingled with shame and embarrassment, made my heart race. At one point, he reached out, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. My stomach flipped. I froze, a wave of heat and confusion washing over me. His touch, innocent as it was, felt electric. I realized I craved it, feared it, and hated myself for feeling that way. By the end of the afternoon, I was emotionally drained, mentally exhausted, and entirely aware of how much she, the girl Mom had molded, had taken over. Michael was fading further, replaced by a delicate, feminine presence that drew attention, admiration, and even affection. Walking home, I couldn't stop thinking about Ethan. My heart ached in a way that was completely foreign, completely feminine, and completely irreversible. I realized that this crush, this emotional connection, was another step in the transformation, a step that Michael could never reclaim. Mom met me at the door, eyes calm and assessing. "You learned more today than you realize," she said softly. "Not just about appearances, but about influence, attraction, and presence. Every glance, every interaction, every feeling you experienced reinforced her. Discipline isn't just control, it's understanding the power she holds. And you felt it today." I nodded silently, flushed, conflicted, and strangely exhilarated. She was right. Every interaction, every compliment, every spark of attraction was shaping her, and Michael was slipping further away. The realization both terrified and thrilled me. As I lay in bed that night, my mind replayed every moment with Ethan, his smile, his attention, his touch. The girl in the mirror stared back at me, delicate, feminine, captivating. And I realized, with a mixture of shame and fascination, that she was undeniably real. Michael's presence was fading, and I wasn't sure I wanted him back. It was a bright, bustling Saturday afternoon when Mom decided I should visit the downtown boutique district alone. I had been walking confidently in my pastel dress, flats clicking lightly against the pavement, hair pinned neatly, makeup accentuating her delicate features. Every step felt like a performance, but one I had grown accustomed to under Mom's lessons. The streets were crowded, filled with shoppers, couples, and tourists. I kept my head high, shoulders straight, and steps deliberate, fully aware of the attention my feminine appearance attracted. People glanced, whispered, some smiling, some curious, some outright staring. I had grown used to it, or at least I thought I had. And then I saw him. A face from the past, someone I hadn't expected to encounter. Someone who knew Michael. My old best friend, Liam. His eyes widened as he froze mid-step, staring at me. For a split second, panic gripped me. My chest tightened, my stomach flipped, and my mind raced. It was impossible to hide. He had recognized something familiar, some essence beneath her delicate exterior. My carefully constructed persona, the girl Mom had molded so meticulously, suddenly felt fragile, exposed, and vulnerable. "Michael." Liam's voice cracked, uncertain, hesitant. I froze completely, heart hammering. Every lesson, every hour of practice, every step in heels, every subtle gesture, every smile, all of it seemed to collapse under the weight of recognition. I wanted to disappear, to flee, to erase the girl in the dress and reclaim Michael. Yet the reflection in a nearby glass storefront revealed her staring back, delicate, feminine, undeniably captivating. Mom's voice echoed in my memory. She exists because you allowed her to. Discipline is control. Control is transformation. And I realized, with a jolt, that I had allowed her to exist fully. Michael had receded far enough that even Liam's recognition didn't fully break her presence. I stammered, voice higher than usual, melodic, trembling. Liam's confusion turned to awe and fascination. You look different. Amazing, actually. I barely recognize you. Heat flushed through me. Part of me burned with humiliation. Being seen, being recognized, having my secret partially revealed. Another part trembled with pride, a dangerous, addictive thrill at being admired and acknowledged as her. I tried to maintain composure, adjusting my posture, smoothing my skirt, softening my voice, performing the delicate gestures Mom had drilled into me. Yet inside, chaos roared. Michael's identity flickered, trying to assert itself, but every instinct, every glance from Liam, every whisper of admiration, reinforced her dominance. Mom's lessons had trained me for public attention, but recognition from someone who knew Michael was different. It pierced deeper. Every compliment, every stare, every lingering glance was a knife and balm at once. Humiliation and fascination collided violently in my chest. Liam smiled again, his gaze lingering on my features, my posture, my expression. You've really changed. You're beautiful. I felt my face burn. Heat pooled in my chest. Pride, embarrassment, shame, and an intoxicating thrill swirled together. I realized with horror and fascination that I liked being seen this way, even if it humiliated me, even if it betrayed Michael, even if it made my past self feel distant and irrelevant. By the time I managed to excuse myself, breath shaky, palms clammy, I realized something undeniable. Recognition didn't erase her. It highlighted how complete she had become. Michael was fading further, replaced by a delicate, captivating presence that drew attention, admiration, and even envy. Walking away, I couldn't stop replaying Liam's words, the glance in his eyes, the shock and awe that mirrored my own internal conflict. Mom's lessons had been thorough, relentless, and terrifyingly effective. She had created her, beautiful, delicate, feminine, and Michael's voice was now faint, fragmented, almost irrelevant. That night, staring at my reflection in the full-length mirror, I realized the truth I had been avoiding. The girl Mom had molded was undeniably present. She was more than a mask, more than a lesson, more than an experiment. She was becoming me, or perhaps she already had. And I didn't know if I wanted Michael back anymore. The evening had fallen, painting the sky in muted shades of orange and purple. I sat in my room, still trembling from the encounter with Liam. My chest ached with a mixture of humiliation, confusion, and the unspoken thrill of being seen as her. The girl Mom had molded stared back at me from the mirror, delicate, feminine, captivating, and yet the fragments of Michael's old self fought to reclaim control. Mom knocked softly on the door before entering. "I see you've returned from your walk," she said calmly, her eyes sharp yet gentle. "Tell me everything. Every feeling, every thought, every glance." I hesitated. Words caught in my throat. Shame and fear battled with a strange desire to confess, to release the storm inside me. Finally, the floodgates broke. I don't know who I am anymore," I whispered, voice trembling. "Michael, he feels gone. And she is beautiful. I hate that I like it. I hate that I feel proud when people notice her. I hate that I crave attention as her, but I do. I don't know how to stop it." Mom moved closer, kneeling in front of me, her presence overwhelming yet comforting. "That is discipline," she said softly. "That is transformation. You are learning to inhabit her fully. You are not losing Michael. You are refining him, shaping him, letting go of what held you back. And in her, you will find strength, beauty, and control you never had before." I shook my head, tears streaming down my face. "But I don't want to lose him. I want to be me. And yet, I don't. I feel. I feel alive like this, in ways I've never known. I hate it and I love it, all at once. Mom's hand rested lightly on my cheek, tilting my face, so I met her gaze. That is exactly why she exists. The conflict, the desire, the shame, the thrill, they are all part of the lesson. Every emotion you feel is shaping her. Every tear, every tremble, every whispered confession strengthens her presence. I collapsed against her, sobbing openly. The flood of emotions, fear, humiliation, fascination, pride, shame, overwhelmed me. Mom held me gently, letting me release the storm, letting me confront the intensity of my new identity. You are not alone, she whispered. Every step you have taken, every exposure, every glance, every whisper of admiration has prepared you for this moment. The girl you see in the mirror is real. She is not a mask.
She is you.
And she is beautiful. I buried my face in her shoulder, trembling. The words both comforted and terrified me. I felt Michael fading further, his presence becoming a distant echo. And yet, a part of me, terrifyingly, irresistibly, wanted to surrender fully, to exist entirely as her, to feel the strange, addictive thrill of being admired, desired, and recognized. As I lay there, sobbing and shaking, Mom whispered again, "You are learning to let go. You are learning to accept her. And when you do, you will understand the power of discipline, beauty, and surrender. She is real. You are real. And together, you will thrive." I nodded weakly, my chest tight, my tears flowing, my mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. I didn't know if I would ever reclaim Michael fully. And in that uncertainty, a part of me trembled with anticipation for the next lesson, the next exposure, the next step into her delicate, captivating, and terrifying world. Mom's instructions were clear. Today, I would face a challenge unlike any before. It wasn't a casual outing or a social gathering. It was a public beauty test, a carefully arranged scenario where strangers, peers, and even acquaintances would evaluate me entirely as her. My stomach twisted at the thought. "You will learn," Mom said calmly, adjusting my skirt and brushing a stray strand of hair behind my ear, "that beauty is not only in appearance, but in presence, in movement, in confidence. And confidence requires control, discipline." I nodded silently, aware that the girl she had molded was fully visible now. The dress she chose was soft lavender, flowing and elegant, lace delicately tracing the hem. Flats made every step deliberate, posture upright yet graceful. My hair and makeup emphasized the delicate femininity she had instilled. I barely recognized myself in the mirror. She stared back, fully formed. We arrived at a boutique hosting a small beauty showcase. The event was subtle, casual, but Mom had arranged for me to be the centerpiece, evaluated, observed, and subtly judged. My heart pounded as I stepped inside. A few onlookers smiled politely, some whispered, some turned their heads in admiration. I was exposed, yet under Mom's watchful eye, I had to maintain composure. "Remember everything," she whispered, her hand resting lightly on my shoulder. "Every glance, every smile, every gesture is a lesson. You are her now. Show them discipline. Show them beauty." The event began. Mom guided me through subtle tasks, walking with poise, speaking softly to the attendees, responding to compliments, and maintaining delicate gestures. Each interaction tested every skill she had drilled into me, the tilt of my head, the softness of my voice, the way I shifted weight gracefully from one foot to the other. A young woman approached, scrutinizing me with a practiced eye. "Your posture is excellent," she said. "And your hair, perfectly styled." My face burned. I felt a mix of pride, embarrassment, and the addictive thrill of being evaluated. Every compliment reinforced her presence. Every glance confirmed the transformation. Michael's voice, intent, and confidence felt distant, nearly erased. Mom subtly encouraged me to engage further, answering questions about style, demonstrating elegance in motion, interacting naturally with attendees. Each step was a delicate balance between control and submission, pride and humiliation, fascination and shame. A young man lingered near the display, his gaze fixed on me. He complimented me softly, eyes lingering longer than necessary. My chest tightened. The thrill of attention, the sting of embarrassment, and the undeniable pleasure of being admired collided violently inside me. I realized with a jolt that I craved it, this public validation, this recognition of her, not Michael. By the end of the test, I was physically exhausted, emotionally raw, and mentally overwhelmed. My legs ached, my chest fluttered with adrenaline, and my mind was a swirl of conflicting feelings. And yet, when I glanced at my reflection in a nearby mirror, I saw her fully, delicate, elegant, beautiful, and commanding attention effortlessly. Mom's hand rested lightly on my shoulder as we left. "You performed well," she said softly. "You endured scrutiny, you embraced attention, and you maintained composure." Every step, every glance, every compliment reinforced her. Michael's presence is fading, and her beauty, discipline, and power are undeniable. Walking home, I realized something terrifying and exhilarating. The girl Mom had molded was fully alive. She wasn't just a mask or a lesson, she was me now, and every exposure, every public test, every moment of attention made it clearer that I might never reclaim Michael fully. And yet, part of me, a part one hated to admit, longed for the next challenge, the next test, the next opportunity to exist fully as her in the world, to feel the strange, intoxicating thrill of being beautiful, delicate, and captivating. The weeks of relentless lessons, public exposure, private guidance, and emotional trials had brought me to this point. Every glance, every whisper, every subtle correction from Mom had shaped her, the delicate, captivating, fully formed girl, into a presence I could no longer deny. Michael's voice, once so certain, was now a faint echo, fragile and fleeting, buried beneath layers of submission, discipline, and feminine grace. That evening, Mom entered my room with her usual calm authority. "Tonight, we decide," she said softly. "Do you fight to reclaim Michael, or do you accept her fully?" My heart pounded. The question was terrifying. I thought of my old life, the freedoms, the independence, the identity I once clung to. I thought of Michael's stubborn pride, his resistance, his masculinity. And yet, I also thought of the thrill, the pride, the intoxicating allure of being her, the soft voice, the graceful movements, the subtle power in attention, admiration, and beauty. I don't know," I whispered, voice trembling. "Part of me wants to fight, part of me." My voice faltered, and tears welled in my eyes. "Part of me wants to stay." Mom stepped closer, her hand resting gently on my cheek. "It is natural to feel torn. That conflict, that tension, it is part of the transformation. But remember this: discipline, submission, and beauty are not weaknesses. They are power. She is not just a mask. She is strength, allure, and presence. And she exists because you allowed her to." I sank to the floor, trembling. The tears came freely now, shame, pride, fear, fascination, and exhaustion mingling in a torrent. I thought of Ethan, Liam, Alex, and the countless glances, compliments, and moments of attention that had reinforced her. Every exposure, every blush, every thrill had chipped away at Michael, leaving her more undeniable, more alive. I looked at my reflection in the full-length mirror. She stared back at me, delicate, elegant, captivating, and undeniably feminine. I traced her features with my trembling hands, feeling the warmth of blush, the softness of hair, the curve of her lips. A strange, terrifying exhilaration coursed through me. I realized that Michael's identity was no longer fully mine to reclaim. She had claimed me. I accept her," I whispered finally, voice soft but steady. The admission burned like fire and ice, shame and exhilaration intertwined. "I accept her." Mom smiled gently, her eyes gleaming with satisfaction. "Then you are ready," she said. "Ready to step into the world fully as her, to embrace beauty, discipline, and presence. Michael is not gone. He is a shadow. But she is real, powerful, and undeniable. You are her. Relief, pride, and fear mingled in my chest. I felt a strange, intoxicating thrill. The freedom of surrender, the power of beauty, the intoxicating allure of attention and admiration. The girl I had resisted, feared, and sometimes hated was now undeniably present. And for the first time, I felt a strange, terrifying, and exhilarating certainty. She was me now. That night, I walked past the mirror again. She stared back, beautiful, delicate, captivating, and fully alive. I smiled softly, fingers brushing her cheek. Michael's voice whispered faintly in my mind, distant but present, like an echo of another life. And I realized I didn't want to fight it anymore. I was her. I was beautiful, and I would embrace it.